Time now for Fantasy Football Today for CBS Local Sports. We give you the starts and sits you need to help you dominate your fantasy leagues in week number 5. I'm Jamey Eisenberg. That's Heath Cummings. We'll get right to it with the quarterbacks. And I love the setup for Deshaun Watson this week. He's due for a monster game. He was good last week, 24 fantasy points. But this week he goes off against the Jaguars. He's the start of the week. I expect a dominant game against the Jacksonville defense that's given up either multiple touchdowns or 300 yards passing in every game this season. Their secondary is banged up, and I think Watson, along with Ben Roethlisberger and Drew Brees, are all going to be good quarterbacks in week number 5. Heath, the quarterback you're sitting would be?
I'm a little bit worried about Drew Brees. We've seen the bar raised at quarterback. It's taken 24.4 fantasy points to be a top 12 quarterback every single week at the minimum. Drew Brees has only topped 20 points once this season. He could get Michael Thomas back. That might help. I'm just not sure he has the upside. There's no rushing there. They're not throwing as much as they used to. I'd rather sit Drew Brees.
All right, you and I differ on Drew Brees, but let's see if we agree on the wide receiver. So give me a wide receiver that you're starting in week number 5.
Basically anyone playing the Atlanta Falcons. Let's say Robbie Anderson. This Falcons defense allowed multiple wide receivers to score double-digit fantasy points 3 out of 4 weeks this season. Anderson has performed like the number 1 in Carolina. Great chemistry with Teddy Bridgewater, who I also love this week. Start your Panthers.
Hope so. Hope it's a big game for the Panthers. I would start actually both Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore over Odell Beckham, who outscored both those guys by himself last week, but that's because he was taking on the Dallas Cowboys. This week against the Indianapolis Colts, not going to be the same thing. And look, maybe Jarvis Landry throws him a touchdown. Maybe he gets 73 yards rushing and a score, but that's not likely. So I think Beckham, you still start him, but lower your expectations. And like I said, I would start both Panthers wide receivers ahead of Odell Beckham in week 5. From the wide receivers, we go to the running backs. And I like 3 guys that have a little different setups. You got Jarrett McKinnon. Whether Raheem Mostert plays or not, I would still start him against the Miami Dolphins. He scored a touchdown in every game so far this year. You got Damian Harris, who looks to be like the best running back, at least on running downs, for the Patriots after his performance last week against the Chiefs. Good setup this week against the Broncos. And then Antonio Gibson. Love the setup for him against the Rams. He just continues to get better each and every week. Just keep throwing him the ball. Love the setup for all 3 of these guys. The sit running backs for you, Heath. Very interesting choices here. Which one are you afraid of the most?
I would start all of those guys you mentioned and the 2 guys on this list over Mark Ingram, who has 1 game this season with double-digit carries. He has fewer total yards than Mo Alley Cox. He's a touchdown or bust running back at the very best. He's being outperformed by J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards and Lamar Jackson. I do not want to start Mark Ingram.
All right, we'll see if Ingram, he needs to score to help your fantasy team. If he doesn't, you could be in trouble. From the running backs, we go to the tight ends, and 2 guys facing each other, Evan Ingram and Dalton Schultz. Which of those 2 do you like better, Heath?
I actually have Ingram ranked higher in PPR. I don't know that I like him. He's not performing very well, but the volume he's seeing from Daniel Jones, it is Darius Slayton and Evan Ingram, and maybe a little bit of Golden Tate, and that's pretty much it. This Cowboys defense is terrible. I'm going right back to Ingram as a top 6 tight end, and you're starting Dalton Schultz just about every week now.
Yep, and Higbee needs to find the end zone, which he easily could against the Washington football team that has struggled to keep tight ends out of the end zone. And it'd be nice to see Mike Gesicki just get more than 1 catch. He has 2 catches his last 2 games. And this week he's facing a San Francisco defense that just completely destroyed Zach Ertz, and the talent level between Mike Gesicki, no offense, and Zach Ertz is very, very wide. So I would try and get away from Mike Gesicki in this matchup on the road at San Francisco. There's your starts and sits at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end for week number 5. Good luck with your fantasy matchups. Get those wins. For Heath Cummings, I'm Jamey Eisenberg. Thanks for watching Fantasy Football Today for CBS Local Sports. And don't forget to check out our Fantasy Football Today podcast wherever podcasts are found.